Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this wonderful Saturday night here in Northern California. A little hot today, at about 95 degrees. It is Saturday night, June 3rd, 2023, about 9:47 p.m. here along the West Coast. Out here in California, of course. Latest earthquake shows some activity down here into the Southern California region with a 3.4 coming in off of the Elsinore fault system here. Looks like there was a little bit of earthquake activity just prior to that 3.4 down here in the extreme southern end of the state. About 8.2 kilometers deep. It did show up here pretty nicely on the seismograph station here at the Barrett station. That's going to be the one up top, local seismograph station within the vicinity of this 3.4. See if anybody felt this earthquake out here. Looks like maybe at least a couple folks there reported that earthquake. Not for sure if it reached over to San Diego or not, but it looks like maybe they are reporting some responses there from this earthquake. Not a big one, but still a little bit of uptick down there in Southern California. The rest of the state, as we look here across the West Coast, fairly minimal. Let's go ahead and pull up the 2.5 map and above, see what we have. Aside from movement down south, we do have the Northern California area rocking and rolling out here around the geysers. Of course, this all kicked off with a 4.5 early this morning. Within minutes of each other, had a series of earthquakes out here around the Cobb Mountain area. Of course, this is a very active region well, there is volcanic activity out here, but humans have found a way to create energy. Of course, we'll cover this real quick, and there's some hydrothermal operations out here. These are all hydrothermal plants. They inject raw sewage below the surface, the heated surface below, to create some type of dry steam, which creates energy. So I really don't know if I want to know any more about that. Sounds a little disgusting, so we'll move on from that. But either way, there's a whole process involved, and it does involve some earthquakes. I know these guys most of the time produce roughly under 2.5 and below, but occasionally some of these earthquakes get up there, and that's not good for them, because then damage occurs around the vicinity there. I'm sure they don't want to hear that. 1,248 earthquakes in the last 30 days there at the Cobb Mountain area hydrothermal plants. All right, moving on here. Nothing going on across the Cascadia, at least as far as earthquake activity goes. So let's go ahead and double check the tremor map here tonight. 381 epicenters of tremor, mostly at the southern end here of the Cascadia. Looks like, make sure that we're working. There we go. Around the Northern California area, northward into southern Oregon. A little bit of activity up here around Vancouver Island ranges and outside of Olympia. Now, these are tremors occurring downstream, down dip here into the Cascadia subduction zone. Still kind of up there, I guess, as far as the numbers go. We're not really peaking out in intensity, but just kind of watching it. It's been somewhat elevated here over the past couple days. Rest of the country here, I'm not seeing any major movement here across the area. We will check Yellowstone here just to double check here, because it is a super volcano, and it's well, sometimes it kicks up some swarms, earthquake swarms, that is. Looks like maybe a little spike of an earthquake here in the last hour, but nothing major at all. All right, scooting out here to the big, beautiful blue Pacific. Not a whole lot going on. Looks like things are tapering off here across Kilauea Volcano. The latest earthquake shows a 1.9 south of Pahala, about 33 kilometers deep. The latest informational statement here from the USGS in regards to Kilauea Volcano here. This is the hazard notification system for volcanoes. This update was put out here today. Currently not erupting, folks, but they're having these little earthquake series, these little earthquake swarms, and inflationary tilt. Basically a swelling of the land underneath here, underneath the volcano. So the volcano is basically swelling. That's what the inflationary tilt means. It looks like right now, over the past day, shows slight deflationary tilt. So that means a little decline, obviously, in the inflation. But the summit remains in an inflated state. 33 earthquakes were located beneath the Kilauea summit Most of the earthquakes, of course, have been smaller. Currently still just watching it, folks, seeing what it wants to do. And when it wants to do it, it will let us know, right? All right, across here, the Western Pacific here, seeing things on an elevated status. For the most part, things have been active across the northern Mariana Islands and also up here into the Japan area with quite a few fours kicking off here in the last 24 hours. Here's the latest map here, or at least a graph on the Earthquake 3D globe showing some of that seismic activity across the Western Pacific, and also some movement kicking up down around the Philippines here, south into this area, where we did see, looks like a 5.2 coming in earlier this evening into the Banda Sea area at about 113 kilometers deep. A little slight uptick in earthquake activity across the vicinity. One thing we have noticed, though, is a major increase in deep earthquake activity here across the Tonga and the Kermadec Trench once again. It's kind of like a cycle, back and forth cycle here between this plate tectonic boundary. Obviously a major accumulator of stress and recycling of the land. You got volcanoes, you got subduction zones here. I think this is one of our most active regions here on the planet, not even joking. 5.3 in the Tonga area. Looks like just an hour or so ago, that fairly shallow, but if you look at the previous earthquake activity, had some pretty deep movement here, including a 4.4, almost 600 kilometers deep there into the Tonga Trench. That extending down here into portions of the Kermadec Trench, it looks like. New Zealand showing a little bit of activity here in the 3 range. Let's go ahead and check out the earthquake activity here across New Zealand from GeoNet. That's the agency there monitoring some earthquake activity. Also, Timothy here has a really cool site with New Zealand quakes that offers some cool layouts as well in a different fashion that monitors the activity here across New Zealand and also some other activity within the world. So looking at the latest here from GeoNet servers, 5 hours ago, 3.1. There's a 2.5 from yesterday. The all magnitudes map here. Slight elevated activity, it looks like, across New Zealand currently. The earthquake drums will give us a better indicator of what's going on far as seismic activity goes. And some of this will be, looks like the majority of this is right around the North Island area as far as the 3s go. But the rest of the South Island area looks fairly quiet. There's not a whole lot going on down here. But just be on guard, stay on guard with this continued movement up north, deeper activity, and the migration of earthquake activity here to the northwest. Obviously, right, puts New Zealand right here in the line of fire. This obviously has to adjust. When you get all this motion here with the Pacific and the Australia plate moving, eventually this has to adjust. It's not invisible. It's not, it's not going to be invisible to earthquake activity, so it's going to adjust here accordingly. Getting some movement out here again around the Red Sea area. This time a 4.7 in the Ethiopia area. It's away from the plate boundary, inland, about 10 kilometers deep. The historical data here does show some earthquake activity out here since about 1900 or so. Looks like maybe some of that can be up around the 6.0 range over here to the west. But for the most part, where this earthquake activity is occurring, it looks like some 4.5s and above, slightly just under the 6.0 threshold. Either way, we've been noticing a little swarm. I can't really say a little swarm. This has actually been a pretty good amount of earthquake activity here in the Gulf of Aden area. Eden or Aden? I think it's Aden. The West Sheba Ridge area. This is a divergent boundary, basically a separation of the seafloor, spreading of the seafloor, so to speak, over time. And that obviously extends into the Red Sea area. That points it out here on the plate tectonic map, which is going to be just right over here. You can see these two separation of plates. The general plate movement, though, has all of these progressing over towards the northeast, with a separation here between the Arabia plate, the Africa plate area, and these are just the typical plates that are shown up there on the map. But these are it's fairly active here in this region. It looks like the last one, though, was a 4.8, 7 o'clock in the morning. But with this one kicking up here, in the northern Ethiopia area shows just still some heightened activity within this region. So we'll continue to watch this, see what plays out here. Up north into Iran and Turkmenistan, it looks like a little bit of activity kicking up in the 4 range. Turkey area seeing some activity as well. Of course, aftershock movement continuing, 4.1, and of course that will show more prominently here across the USGS and the EMSC model, where we got, looks like there was another earthquake coming in there, maybe a 3.8. I've seen it peeking out there behind those flags. The Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet for now. South America is still showing some elevated conditions here. Let's go ahead and scoot on down here to South America. And looks like the latest quake under Peru here, not too far under, looks like about 9 kilometers or so, 4.0. We have seen looks like a 5-pointer down here in the Chile area, 135 kilometers deep there into the Andes Mountains area, it looks like. Just outside Bolivia. I've always wanted to go down there. Just something about this area intrigues me very, very much so. But, you know, right now, gotta stay here around the home front. You know, it's just a dream of mine. I would love to visit South America. Either way, some activity kicking up here in the plate boundary here of the Peru-Chile Trench. We'll continue to watch that, monitor that for some movement. Across the Caribbean plate, mostly smaller microquakes there in the region. Far as anything big going on here across the Alaska area, mostly some 4s coming in, some 3s it looks like as well, and a little cluster here into the Aleutian Trench. Got to pay attention to these clusters because they can sometimes lead to foretelling of a larger impending earthquake. Right now, you know, bunch of 4s. The largest was a 4.8, 8 o'clock this morning, but still noticing a heightened earthquake sequence there across the Aleutian Trench. Continue to watch this area for some larger movement. All right, let's see what else we got. We got Nevada up here still rocking and rolling. Not for sure what this is pointing to, but it's been a little ongoing sequence here of earthquake activity just northwest of Reno, Nevada, a few miles or so outside Reno. We did have another 2.9 coming in earlier this evening. The latest, though, a 1.1 within the last hour. Coming up on about 43 earthquakes or so in this little sequence. Continue to watch that as well. That's, again, well away from the plate boundary, but again, pressure and migration transferring well inland away from the plate boundary. All right, let's see what else we got. Space weather activity. Jump into that real quick. Looks like we're coming down from a little C flare, upper C flare it looks like. Notice this little graph uptick here. Let's see where that is coming from. Most of the time when you look at these charts here, you can see a bright image of where the C-spot activity may be coming from. It kind of looks like it's down here on the southeastern limb from the UV filter rays there. I'm guessing that's where it's coming from. Not a whole lot of updates here from Kevin over the last couple days. Probably busy. The latest magnetogram image here shows the complex structure of the sunspots. Still kind of watching this area. It does harbor some potential here for some flaring. But maybe an interesting sunspot out here on the southeastern limb that's currently producing that C-flare activity. We'll continue to watch that as the hours and the days progress. But for now, we'll keep an eye on these visible sunspots here that will be progressing across the visible disk of the sun. And it's pretty much lined up perfectly here with the Earth-Sun plane. Continue to watch that for any elevated solar weather activity. Right now, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 35, X flare around 10%. And that's probably how it's going to stay for a little bit until we get some further interesting sunspots here in the area. No major coronal holes facing us. Most of them are down south, and yeah, we're just not really exciting here for solar weather. Things are very minimal in the aurora department. Looking at the weather forecast, long range here, we'll bring up the regional map. Not regional, but let's look at kind of look at the North Pacific out here. California has some interesting weather right now. Normally we could be easily into the night. Well, today was not bad. It was 95 or so. Tomorrow 97, but we could easily be into hundreds by now in June, 107 or so, and they could last for weeks at a time or months at a time, and it sucks. It really does. Some areas may hit 100 once in a while, occasionally, but we can hit above 100 and 110 for weeks and months at a time, and it's miserable. Yes, we don't have the extreme humidity, although tonight, I don't know, I'm looking at my weather outside. It's 73 degrees with 80% humidity and a dew point of 65.8. So it's a very strange year. It's hot and humid for right now here along the West Coast. But we do have, and it could be contributed to, obviously, the full water allowance to all the farmers. So the water has been, unrestricted. The farmers have basically all the water they need because of our wet winter to fill up hundreds and thousands of acres of rice fields out here on the West Coast in California. So obviously when the sun cooks it, it's going to evaporate some of the water, bring that humidity into the air and create humidity out here. Kind of feels like Texas. Actually, believe it or not, it feels more humid than Texas right now. Not even joking. So I was looking at the long-range forecast. Tomorrow looks like we're going to stay a little hot, but we're watching a little trough here develop Southern California area. And this is a very interesting pattern because this is unusual to see this type of activity out here in June. Thunderstorm activity potentially bringing some showers and whatnot into Southern California. Also Northern California potentially as well. I think this is feeding off of a very low pressure system, unusual for this time of year. Out in this area of the Pacific, normally we have a massive high pressure system building out here, a massive ridge creating and pushing the jet stream way north and allowing some temperatures out here along the West Coast to soar into the hundreds. But this is very not normal. It's not. I'm not even joking. So this is something of interest to me because these patterns are not very typical of a El Nino year, and we're definitely slipping into that here soon. So we'll watch this. Looks like the West Coast will be building into some cooler and stormier weather. High pressure system, for the most part, the massive high pressure system looks to be parked well north into Canada. I know those folks are not enjoying that. But looking out into the middle of June or so, I'm really not seeing any prominent high pressure system out here. It looks like it's trying to form. This is what we have to watch out for. This will create a hot summer. But again, this is way out towards the second or third week of June. And if it does stay way out there, then maybe we can get some further troughing. But it looks like California, West Coast, is going to be below normal and relatively stormier than normal. So that's awesome, I think, anyway. I'm be doing some storm chasing probably out here along the West Coast. Total accumulation precipitation map here. This goes out a little ways, it looks like. See what we got as we extend way into the future. June 18th here along the West Coast. A little bit of activity out here. Looks like some rainfall. And to see this much moisture out here is a little abnormal. Now this is just one weather model, GFS, total accumulated precipitation, here until about June 18th. Obviously, portions of Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, you guys are getting some very beneficial rainfall here over the coming weeks, and that's, I'm sure, very welcome, right? But here in the West Coast, it looks like maybe a little bit of rain. Not much, under an inch or so for most places here in the valley, maybe in the mountains a little bit more, but either way, normally you can pretty much block out this whole area with dry conditions, and we'll see obviously the monsoonal moisture and the thunderstorms develop here in the southern and central plains. But this is, I don't know, it's a little interesting here, so we'll continue to watch that and see how this plays out for precipitation. There's a somewhat of a high pressure system building out here, it looks like. want to go into the rain accumulation here and look on this map, see what it looks like for the next 10 days or so. These guys not really showing too much here on the ECMWF model. But still, you know, obviously thunderstorms can change that. You can get a downpour over one area while other areas receive really nothing. So, yeah. Right now, goodness, is that the current temperature right now? No, this is, well, yeah, Saturday the 3rd, 10 p.m. These guys are showing 82 for Chico, but here in my backyard I have about 72, but it's 80% humidity. Goodness. It's not, let's see what the humidity looks like here for some areas. I really don't think it's 20%. I wish it was 20%. If it's 20%, then that'd be awesome. But I have 80% humidity, so I'm not for sure where this is coming from. I think these guys are getting a little bit of information wrong. But then again, maybe it could be local to my area, all right, with the rice fields and whatnot around. But I don't know about that. Sometimes these guys are a little on the haywire side. Alrighty, guys, I am going to jump off here again. Just a quick announcement. We have our member drawing coming up, folks. It looks like we lost about 20 members or so. 20 members, so maybe they didn't renew. I don't know, but we are doing our member drawing again. Picking out 2 winners this time. On the 15th of this month, we'll give away either a $50 Visa MasterCard, whatever you want there, or a cool Earthmaster t-shirt. One of our lucky members have won that recently. Or Hurricane Heather most recently won a geology mining kit. And I think it's 11 or 12 piece geology mining kit. Comes with some cool stuff. So it's your choice, you know, if you are the lucky winner. Just got to be there in the fishbowl. And that's by becoming a member. Also, there's many member benefits. Get some really cool emojis and icons and extra videos, extra perks here on the channel. And I think that's pretty cool. A lot of times we'll show some stuff out here to the members only that we normally don't show here on the channel because it's not really earthquake related. Whether it be family stuff, garden stuff. Kind of invite you guys here into our little bit of our lives here on the Earthmaster and Missy Mimi side. And that's an extra benefit there to the members only. So jump on board, folks. It's not that expensive. I think it's like $2.99 a month, $3.99 a month. There's other levels if you wish to support us more. I do pop up that option. YouTube allows me to give that option there to help us support or to help support the channel more. But also, you know, you don't have to be on a certain level to be entered into our monthly drawings. Just gotta be on the member list here, and we'll jump on that here in a week or so, week and a half. All right, folks, have a good night. Stay safe out there, and again, keep an eye on a couple areas out there. Looks like Cone Peak, Hawaii. That's going to be the Hawaii station. Got a little bit of activity coming in. Just recently, that's going to be probably the 2.5, 2156. 2156 is going to be, yeah, 0456. Local time, my time, 2156. So that's what the 2.5 looks like. Followed up by a little 1.7. Of course, this seismograph station got squashed due to the 2.5. But if we were to bring that down a little bit, then you can see the 1.7. But kind of how you read seismograph stations here. Larger quakes are always going to squash the smaller readings. It looks like a little bit further earthquake activity off following that 1.7 too. But we'll continue to watch Kilauea Volcano. Again, I think it's within a week's time frame. These little earthquake swarms and whatnot continue to go up and down. Inflationary tilt goes up and down as well. Obviously, we know something's going on underneath the Kilauea volcano. So, otherwise, it wouldn't be having all these elevated events. All right, folks, have a good night. We'll catch you guys back here sometime tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Peace out.